Welcome back, everyone. Looks like we got a big old combo with a bunch of people. What do you think they're talking about over there? I suspect Roxy wanted some time to catch up with an old friend. I'm sure I would want the same if I hadn't just had an extensive reunion with her myself. Yeah, I guess we should just chill out and give them a moment. It isn't quite time to head to our battle stations yet, so we might as well try and relax until it is. I imagine it's a lot easier to relax when another version of yourself hasn't been hijacked by your dead cat. Yeah, probably. Maybe you should try not to let her bug you, Rose. She seems harmless enough, plus she's pretty funny. Sounds suspiciously like the advice of someone who's never had to deal with an outlandish, alternate version of himself. Hey, I've bumped into other Johns a few times. Can't say the experience has been anything other than perfectly agreeable. You mean Johns that were essentially time duplicates in case of your retcon quest? Yes. Those don't count. Those were just regular Johns. What I'm saying is, you never had to deal with the John who was like half Harry Anderson and half Maplehoof, the dear departed pony. Wow, that sounds great! Come to think of it, you're the only one of us who hasn't. I mean, of our original group of friends. Dave had Bird Dave, Jade had Dog Jade, and now I have... Shudder. Cat Rose. Why were you left off the hook? I don't know. I guess you guys are just luckier than me. Even putting aside the wildly unwelcome body horror slapstick routine she represents and the machine gun salvo of opprobrious remarks and conduct which my cat is apparently capable of releasing from my subconscious, I'm not sure where this leaves me. What do you mean? I felt like I understood my place. I'd gotten myself in order, somewhat. My, beverage decisions had gotten more reasonable. I was ready to bear down and play my part in finishing this. I could even handle a stray rose sprite brought to my doorstep by my sweet imbecile of a pet. Idiotic that he was, I was still clearly Rose Prime. But can I really claim that now? She's a sprite squared. How is that even a thing? Can someone tell me how that's even a thing? I can't tell you how it's even a thing. I think we're all just as flabbergasted as you at its thinginess. What's next? Is there a sprite cubed, or... Let's not even entertain this avenue of thought. The point is, she must be quite powerful, insightful, and in spite of the beast she rents headspace out to, intelligent as well. Does she arguably have more claim to being real Rose than I do? I don't think being the real Rose necessarily means being the one who is more outgoing and chatty and powerful and stuff. I'm not sure it really means anything. I think maybe we should try to drop the stuff about who is the real version of who anyway. It's weird, and it just hurts people's feelings. I don't care if my feelings are hurt, though. I just want to know where I stand. I really don't think she's that threatening to you. Believe me, you still seem like the Rose I always knew, whereas she does not quite. It seems to me she is a lot more interested in having fun and zipping around like a silly lunatic than usurping you as the main Rose. Sure, that's what she wants you to think. But why do you care? I thought I heard the other Rose say before she was a cat that she liked the idea of being some sort of backup Rose. Do you not feel that way too? No, John, you beautiful fool. That is exactly what Rose here is expressing. That was a different context. I probably would have felt the same way if I found myself to be in her exact situation. Jasprose changes everything, though. Now I feel a certain responsibility, like I have to really step up. Step up? Yes, to make sure I stay regarded as the exemplary model. To provide assurance that the concept of Roseness itself doesn't degrade due to black market peddlers of substandard shit. Basically, I need to defend the integrity of the brand. Oh my god. What? Nothing. I just missed you so much. My brand missed you too, John. Your brand has good taste in friends and kicks ass. Nerds! Hey, what do you think Kanaya and Karkat are doing? They're probably getting a stern earful of roiling monster patois right about now. Do you think they'll be successful? At what? At talking to a monster. I don't know. I think Karkat will successfully fail to understand the monster and possibly also successfully shout at the monster. Kanaya, I think, will probably successfully do something sensible in regard to whatever the monster demands. So, you think you're gonna pull it off then? I'm still not sure what it is, but yes. Well, the idea was to release the frog, I think. You think so? That's what Vriska said. Vriska says a lot of things. Whoopsie daisy. That's the basic idea, yes, but monsters can be complicated. Regardless, I think the right person was summoned to handle it. You really trust Kanaya, don't you? Sure. Not to change the subject too hard into something maybe you don't want to talk about because of your brand, but I think you make a nice couple. You do? Yes, I thought so last time I was hanging out with you, both in the screwed up timeline, but didn't say anything then. I think it's still true. I'm glad it didn't change when I retconned some things. I am too. Maybe that means it's a strong relationship. If it can survive, God, whatever the hell happened. A hard 3-year reboot and then sudden presence of Vriska? When you put it that way, it really does sound like you were trying to fuck us up. Nerds! Terezi, shush. What? I have just been minding my own business and in no way whatsoever saying anything directed at a couple of silly nerds saying dorky things. No, you said nerds twice. You always say nerds when in earshot of other people who are just being friendly. Isn't it weird how you're making this observation and no one else is? What? No? Meaning, maybe I only say it when the pair of nerds in earshot happens to include you. Spade. Ugh, what was that look? What look? That look you just gave me. I didn't give you a look, dingus. Yes, you did. Don't look at me like that. Whatever look you think I gave you, it was in your imagination. It is possible you may be flattering yourself, Egbert. Oh, whatever. What are you still even doing here? Weren't you gonna go with Dave and get ready for battle? Yes. I'm just giving him and his bro some time to themselves first. I am sure they could use it. And whatever the hell is going on between them, the last thing I want to do is involve myself. That sounds even more awkward than lingering around you goofy bunch of nerds being all cute and mushy with your human family and friendship stuff. Yeah, you sure do sound put off by it. All hanging on our every word and such. It takes a will of iron. Trust me. Yeah, I actually do agree. It does sound pretty awkward to be around Dave and his bro while they, get to know each other, I guess? Yep. I'm not sure how well Dave really knew his adult bro, actually, aside from bogusly idolizing him in a way that was really transparent that he didn't. I wonder how different Dirk is from him, if at all. I wouldn't be the one to ask. What do you think, Rose? I don't think there's anyone who could answer that. I suspect literally no one in the history of anywhere has ever met both people, until as of now, Dave himself. I hope Dave's okay. Meanwhile, Roxy. Just Roxy. Well, and Callie. But mostly just to be supportive. Subtle void emanations. A coalescence. Alternia. Oh, it's all of the Virgo signs. Orb. Hell, yes! Egg. Nice work. It's me again. Cat sounds. Stretch. Ugh. Miss me, Rose. Did you know I love you? Weird thing for me to say, you hear probably. I inherited the adoration of our cat had for you, which now strangely is directed with the exact same intensity at myself, because I'm you. Funnily enough, this manifests itself in a particularly acute form of narcissism, which is something we were already sort of afflicted by, and so was our cat by the very nature of the sort of animal he was. The bottom line is, I'm pretty twisted up inside in all the most beautiful ways, and it's wonderful. It really isn't. As much as I enjoy getting a load of that gorgeous whiskerless mug of yours, it's not actually why I dropped by. I'm here on a curt matter of business with Jane. What the fuck, Jane face? Huh? We have to prepare for our healing duties, hammer out a strategy and such, really sink our claws into the expensive upholstery of that problem. But first, I have somewhere to take you. What? Where? There's someone you really must meet before we all start skittering around the great laminated floor of combat. As the ghostly spiritual guide of whomever my whims decide I should be serving any given moment, I can't allow another second to pass without introducing the two of you. Who? This way! Bonk. Woohoo! Doesn't seem to be in that image. What? Alright, shifting ahead, I guess. You can stay here with others until this all blows over. With who exactly? Jade, she's sleeping. Please keep an eye on her, okay? Yes, of course. I'd be happy to. Also, a man they call the mayor is here. I don't know much about the dude myself, but apparently he's a hell of a guy. Give him my regards. I will. So, yeah. If we make it through this, I'll come back for you. And then we can figure out what happens next. I can't wait. Hope you're not sick of hearing it yet, but I'm still so psyched you're with us. Of course I'm not sick of it. Is it just... Ugh. Callie, in times such as these, you know, words have trouble cutting it. Come here. Keep me in your thoughts, okay? In the luckiest and magicest way you know how. I will, Roxy. Now, if you will excuse me, I got a delivery to make. Maybe we should go over this again. Because, honestly, I'm still not sure I get it. What? Who are we actually fighting again? Jack Noir? Yeah, well, one version of Noir. There's a shitload of them, though. Which one is this? He's yours. Ours. Yeah, the one from your session. But our Jack spent months in prison. Well, I guess he broke out. He's kind of like a huge fucking deal now. When did this even happen? I have no idea. I wasn't there. I guess neither was I. He's got Lord English powers, though. He's apparently, like, just wretched fucking news. Damn. He's gonna be hard to beat, even armed with the ultimate weapon, some swords. Sounds like some shit's going down. Let's not downplay our sword gambit, though. I have yet to encounter a problem where a sword didn't factor into a solution, at least in some way. I bet. Bear in mind, I haven't actually solved many problems over the course of my life, but the ones I have, man, swords proved hells of instrumental. What do you mean you didn't solve many problems? Didn't you, like, program robots and stuff? I guess I meant real problems involving people. Oh, those. So, Jack has Lord English powers? Yep. Does that have anything to do with Jake? Not according to my current understanding of a mostly nonsensical body of information. What does it actually mean then? Not sure. Mostly that he's really hard to kill, I think. Okay, well that's a decent intel at least. You might be vulnerable to Welsh things too. Don't quote me on that because it'll make me sound like a fucking idiot. Alright. Do you know when he arrives? I already said I don't know. Right. Guesstimate? Not soon enough is my best guess. And I guess also my opinion. No. Is everything alright? Sure. It just seems like maybe you aren't that into this. Or at least, not as much as I was, whenever I imagined the possibility of us meeting. Were you? Yeah. I guess I'm not doing a very good job of showing it now. I think that's probably just what I'm like, though. You don't say. I mean, when it comes to people in general, but probably especially people who are an important part of my life. So, you think I'm an important part of your life? Yes? You don't actually know me, though. Not this me, and I'm pretty sure you didn't know the other guy either. That's true. What is it about me that's important, then? I'm not sure how to answer. Why? Because I'm getting the sense that you might disapprove of whatever I might say. Maybe you'll think it's weird that I idolize some version of you I never knew. Idolized? See, it seems like you think it's weird. Yeah, I shouldn't have said anything. I don't know if it's weird. I just can't process it. Why? Because maybe not anything to do with you per se, but how I view my bro. And I've got to say, meeting you, it's not rocking my world here, or upending any paradigms or whatever. Listening to you and looking at you, it really just reminds me of him. I know you're different and all, and also like a kid, I guess, but you don't feel that different. And hearing anything like that, like about idolization, or like you were actually looking forward to this in any sincere way, it's kind of fucking jarring. Huh. So like, things between you and me, from your perspective, are we like not cool? Well, here's, well, I guess I didn't fucking like you that much, okay? Oh? Why not? Honestly, I don't know if I want to get into it. Okay. Okay. Actually, maybe I will get into it. I don't know why my friends got to have adults around who cared about them. They complained bitterly about stuff, so I guess I convinced myself they were all in the same boat as me, but that's not how it was. Their complaints were trumped up nonsense, and I bought it because, I don't know, I didn't have any frame of reference. But his dad and her mom, no matter what they said, it was so obvious they cared about them deeply. Even Jade's weird fucking grandpa, who died when she was young, obviously would have done anything for her. Why did I get such a raw cut of the asshole deck? Why did it take me so long to figure that out? And he's dead now, so that's that. So all that's left to do is look back and try to put the pieces together of my first 13 years. And all I can think is, what the fuck was that? I don't come away with the impression I used to try convincing myself of, that he was like mysterious or stern or aloof. The only feeling left is this insane impression that I was raised by somebody who fucking hated me. And the whole act of even raising a child was some totally fucked up game to him. Like parenthood was one of the highest tiers of irony in his solemn bullshit bro ninja code. So he went through these motions and did whatever he thought was funny or badass, but under that weird stylistic and totally sociopathic approach to parenting, I can't even imagine there was any emotion toward me other than some sort of loathing. What did he do? I don't want to get out the laundry list, but for reference, laundry wasn't one of those fucking things. That was just one of the many little domestic things I just had to sort of figure out. Sort of like I eventually had to learn about the real purpose of a refrigerator was from movies. Wait, what? I don't know. There's too much to even get into. I don't remember the atmosphere ever not being nerve-wracking. All having to sneak around and, shitty childhood spider senses are tingling just thinking about it. It was training, you know? But you know what it really was when it was some vicious shit that was bad and sucked and I hated it. It didn't make me stronger. It did the opposite. It made me never want to fight. It made me never want to see blood or be near danger or hear metal sounds. It made me hate the idea of being a hero because he was a hero and he ruined the idea of heroism. I don't even want to be fighting this shitty version of Jack, but hey, nobody else has secret Welsh power, so I guess I gotta do it. What gets me is how long it took for me to put this all together. To stop seeing it as some roughhousery and kind of eccentric life I had but was otherwise normal. It took years to deconstruct it all and put it back together, to understand how fucking mad I should be. And in particular, how stone cold deeply uncared for I was my whole life. Like, being merely monitored by a violent robot, I only started getting it after spending a lot of time in person with a bunch of people who actually give a shit about me. And I could start feeling like actually human for the first time, instead of some sort of runty afterthought to a household cabal of smutty puppets. Puppets? The fucking puppets, dude. I know how it sounds, but I'm not joking, and there is no shred of doubt in my mind that he loved all those puppets more than me. Honestly, it's very possible that he was just insane, and that's that. I guess it didn't help either that we lived with what we have come to understand may theoretically be the most evil doll to exist in any universe ever. In fact, it's my tenuous understanding that he came down to Earth with that thing and actually grew up with it. Maybe spending 30-some years being inseparable from that hell puppet had some effect on him. Maybe if it hadn't been casting a pall over our apartment 24/7 since he took me in. Grinning. Glaring. Laughing in my sleep. Maybe our lives wouldn't have been quite so. Maybe we would have. Ugh. What? You okay there? Yeah. That doll, that was Cal, right? Yeah. Right, my version is empty, apparently, whatever that means. Huh, how do you know that? A source. One supposedly knowledgeable in jujus. I never quite knew what that meant, though. Well, whatever his was, empty is never how I would have described it. Man, I don't know if I figured something out here, like explained something, or if I'm just driving myself crazy with this talk and nothing ever even needs explaining. It doesn't change my past or how I feel about him. He was still pretty much awful, no matter what the reason. And I'm sure that's the only feeling I'll ever have about him. So, who cares why it was like that? Yeah. That all sounds really bad. I don't know what to say, though. Maybe I shouldn't say anything, since I just remind you of so much of him for obvious reasons. I don't want to make you feel worse, or make it sound like I'm offering a defense for him or for me, because I don't have one for either of us. Come on, man, you didn't do anything. That was just some douchebag with your exact DNA who happened to grow up to be my bro. You had a completely different life full of, like, different choices and actions and stuff. And even if you were going to turn out like him, you've barely cleared the halfway mark on actually chronologically getting there. In some way, ranting about all this is probably just uncool of me, because you aren't him. You're not responsible for any of this shit, but I'm sort of implicitly tacking it on you anyway, so I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure it's true, though. At least, I don't feel that way. What way? That I'm not him. The fact is, I am. It's something I've come to understand about myself. All splinters of me are basically me, no matter how much I want to resist that truth, or pretend they aren't reflecting my own qualities back at me. No. Better. I bear a certain responsibility for all of them. Splinters? Yeah, I guess the concept isn't that unique to me. We've all got other versions of ourselves running around here and there throughout the various compartments of this messed up cosmos. Right. I just happen to be particularly connected to mine. I've felt haunted by them. And what that really means is I'm perpetually haunted by my own bad qualities. So when I hear about stuff I did in another reality, I'm not sure what my adult self might have ever tried to do to atone for that stuff, if anything. Pretty much dick squat. Yeah, but in any case, I'm sure I was completely in the wrong, and I'm sorry I messed up your life. Okay, man. Thanks. But it still feels a little odd accepting an apology from somebody who I just met and technically had nothing to do with my life. Even if you do feel guilty splinter ways or whatever. It's just a messed up situation. I guess I had to vent. And there was never anyone I wanted to say all that to, and the only thing that was going to drag it out of me, I guess, was like a teen stand-in phantom of my dead bro. Just some perfectly innocent dude having to take the brunt of this shit. I'm not particularly innocent, though. I've messed a whole lot of things up with my friends. Honestly, that's why I wasn't there bent on sticking it out. Honestly, that's why I wasn't that bent on sticking around when I showed up, and pretty much jumped at the offer of flying here to get ready for some yet-to-be-explained battle. Battles are easy. Just you, a sword, some bad guys. It's a lot simpler than having to answer for things you did. For the most part, I feel pretty bad about the role I played in my friends' lives. Especially Jake. What happened there? I don't even know. An unmitigated disaster for which I am entirely to blame. It's not any one thing. I think I was just a completely toxic element in his life from day one. I don't know what he's doing now. I wouldn't be surprised if he was trying to avoid me as much as possible. I'm sure that's for the best. I think I need to stay out of his business for good. For a good while. So, I don't risk poisoning another innocent kid's life. Like I did with yours, apparently. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little different because relationships between peers is a whole other thing. It's tricky shit, and you're both figuring stuff out on a relatively equal footing, and you're both at the same point in your lives. It's not like when one person is older and supposed to be a lot more... Never mind, this is a fucked up thing to think about. But the bottom line is, yeah, laying low while you sort out your stuff can't hurt. Right. The thing with that, with my adult self's ways, the sad thing is, I can really see it. How someone like me can go unchecked in life and turn to become a much worse person than I already am. I guess I'm just relieved. I still have some time to make sure that doesn't happen. You don't actually seem like a bad person to me, though. No? Nah. Why not? We did just meet, after all. Because I don't know if truly bad people wrestle so much with whether they're good or bad. I think if I ever sensed my bro, like, struggled at all with what he was doing or who he was or showed any sort of doubt, that might have changed everything. But there was never a crack in it, or even the slightest hint of introspection behind the aggressive, cool dude facade. If there was, I sure never noticed. I mean, personally. I think about it all the time now. What it actually means to be good or bad, or if not something that's starkly moral, at least just trying to examine the difference between having been decent and being a douche. Maybe it's because of him I worry about that now, but for me, I think that internal struggle is kind of mild for him, or you, I mean. It sounds like some pretty dark shit, like grappling with, becoming evil versus simply trying not to. Yeah, that's not too far off. But the point is, even just talking to you a little bit, it's obvious you've been fighting with that, which means that you care enough to put in some effort. And I think that counts for something. Maybe. I'm not sure if I'm ready to accept a pat on the back for recognizing I have some problems and worrying about whether they'll destroy me and fuck up the people I care about. That might be setting the bar kind of low. But when it comes to the subject of him, the bar is already pretty low, dude. The weird thing, honestly, is that it's actually kind of refreshing to hear a sincerely leveled critique of all my negative qualities, coming from another person invested in a relationship with me, rather than from a fucked up iteration of myself as some bizarre trollish form of self-abuse. The only thing I've ever been exposed to are either various forms of self-loathing, either from me or my autoresponder, or attitudes completely oblivious to my real issues, as expressed through my friends. My friends always seemed to cut me so much slack, or were just never aware of the kind of person I really was. Well, Jake probably is, by now, at least. But he's also the sort of guy who's just as likely to blame himself for stuff I did as he is to blame me. Jane and Roxy, though, never seemed to see anything wrong with me. If anything, that's just the contrary. Roxy in particular had a certain fixation. She meant well, but she was so enamored of me and seemingly everything I did, which I think was the last thing I really needed. To be idolized in some form by other people I respected. I had enough of that feeling coming from within, particularly when I was younger. And since then, I've been plagued by the insane ego of my youth in the form of the artificial intelligence I designed, which essentially trapped that state of mind in a sort of horrid suspended animation. Until recent developments, of course. So was that stuff true? When you said you idolized the other version of me? Oh yeah. And not just some bullshit like how I used to say the same thing about my bro when I didn't know any better. It's definitely not like that. I never lived with him or met him, so couldn't have had anything like the contentious relationship you had with my older self. He was a historical figure from centuries ago. There was a lot to admire, and I think about fondly. Especially since I was alone, and never had any direct contact with another person, or any concept of civilization. So even though I'm sure I romanticized what his life was like in the early 21st century in general, it was nice to think about you. I passed a lot of time that way. You say there was a lot to admire. Like what? Well, he was pretty famous. Made some successful movies, at least under a somewhat expansive definition of success, and an even more expansive definition of movie. His work accumulated a lot of subversive political influence, which got him in trouble later. He made like 1 million bullshit statues of liberty, scummed them up with JPEG artifacts, and littered them all over the planet. Holy shit. He was also a pretty badass swordsman, and an active member of the resistance movement. He slaughtered the clown presidents on the roof of the White House and flew away on a shitty skateboard. Then it seems he gave the Batter Witch a pretty good run for her money. It wasn't enough, but he went down fighting. Yeah, I'm gonna need to hear more details on that sometime. Sure, but as you can tell, clearly there was a lot to look up to. I thought about the examples you set constantly, the creative ideals, the advanced theories on irony and humor, the tales of courage and martial prowess. Really, I modeled everything about myself after you, or at least everything good that I was trying to become. And I probably spent an embarrassing amount of time imagining what it would be like to live during his time and to be able to have something resembling a sibling relationship or be in some way a master-apprentice situation. When I finally learned you existed and started to understand who he really was in relation to me, that put a lot into context. I realized he was a version of you who got a chance to live up to his full potential. And when I understood there was a young version of you in a situation sort of like mine, whose time on Earth got cut short when you were thrown into all this, I was at least happy to think there was some reality where you got the chance to do everything you wanted to do, be successful, and fight for all the right things. Even if ultimately it didn't lead to a great outcome for humanity, you had an opportunity to live a full life and show what you were made of. Well, I guess I had the same opportunity on your world, somewhat less, fortunately. Yeah, but then for all my bitching, I guess I still never grasped your full reality. Just like you probably didn't grasp mine, but just reading into the mindset of a historical figure as best you could. What if it wasn't as heroic as it seemed? What if adult me was kind of douchey too in a way you couldn't observe? Perhaps. But beyond a certain point, I think accomplishments speak for themselves. I don't know if you can just completely shred every person who ever did great things because they had some flaws. All I can say is, it was important to me to see him the way I did, as a good person who inspired me, and set the standard for what I wanted to be. It kept me going. That said, I am also glad there's this version of you who got to go through all the things you've been through. Like, yeah, you didn't get to be the cool celebrity who cuts down juggalos on badly defaced government property, and the idea of a normal life is really taken from you, and it's something you'll never get to experience. But this is so much more challenging and uncertain. You get to apply all that potential and you showed in one reality to something much bigger and more existentially critical. Whatever strength you think you showed in trying to save a dying planet, the fact is, I think we need that more here. And the trials inherent in being a part of something like this, I think they bring more out of you than a relatively pedestrian life on Earth ever would. Make you face more things about yourself. At least that's been true for me. But it sounds like it's been true for you, too. It sounds to me like the experience you've had changed you a lot, for the better. You mentioned the experiences with him that were designed to make you stronger have actually made you weaker, but really, I doubt that's true. I bet you've become stronger than you realize, not because of anything he did, but because of what you've done, and the ways you've changed yourself through your own effort. I hope it doesn't come off as overly sentimental garbage, but it seems to me like you turned out to be a really good dude. Like, really. A better sort of dude than I ever imagined. Much better. It seems to me like you turned out to be a really good dude. Like, really, a better sort of dude I ever imagined talking to when I pictured meeting the legendary guy I idolized. I pictured him as probably being too cool to be the type of guy you are, but you know what? Fuck being too cool for that. You don't think I'm cool? Nah, I mean in the right way. Yes, I think you are. But in the way that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. Not particularly. Anyway, that's all my stuff with respect to your other self. Again, there's a lot more I could say about him. Maybe stuff you should know. Or maybe it's all irrelevant to the path you're on now. Regardless, I'd be more than willing to answer any questions you have about him. Or anything, really. Feel free to ask me whatever. Okay? Yeah, I'll have to think. Hey. Sorry about this. What? For what I'm doing now. This bullshit right here. Oh. Well, it's really fucked up of me, what I'm presently doing. So, sorry about that. Oh, yeah, man. This is some fucked up shit. Alright. I know. But it's cool. Don't worry about it. It's so fucked up. Sorry. The apology hug. But next time, we deliver the orb.